Dawn breaks on September 12, 1897, over the small frontier outpost of Saragarhi. As the first light hits the barren mountains, the Sikh soldiers rise, wash, adjust their turbans, and begin their morning routines. But beneath the calm, there's a growing tension. Everyone feels it. Something is coming. Across the region, the tribal population has risen in open revolt throughout 1897, and now thousands are marching toward British India. The forts of Lockhart and Gulistan lie directly in their path. For 2 weeks, the rebels have launched repeated attacks on those forts, none successful, but each one more aggressive than the last. Back at Saragarhi, all 21 Sikh soldiers go about their duties as usual, until the silence of the mountains is shattered. A lookout suddenly shouts a massive force is moving on the horizon. Havildar Ishar Singh immediately orders the men to the walls. Rifles are loaded, positions taken. Signalman Gurmukh Singh sprints up the tower and begins sending helograph messages, flashes of sunlight in Morse code, to Fort Lockhart. A large force is approaching. Are they hostile? The reply comes, yes, 14 standards spotted. At least 10,000 tribesmen advancing. Gurmukh sends one more desperate message. Can you send help? After a long, tense pause, the answer flashes back. No, reinforcements will not arrive in time. We cannot abandon the fort. Gurmukh relays the grim news. The Sikh soldiers reinforce the walls, stack ammunition, and barricade the gate. Havildar Ishar Singh gathers his men. They all understand the situation. There is no escape. If they try to flee, they'll be cut down outside the post. The only option is to stand and fight. Despite the certainty of death, the men stay calm, no panic, no arguments, no desertion. Ishar Singh reminds them of their duty. Every man nods. They will hold the outpost for as long as humanly possible. Back at the signaling tower, Gurmukh sends one last message to Fort Lockhart. We will hold the position. We will buy you time. On the other end, Lieutenant Colonel John Houghton orders that every signal be recorded as the battle unfolds. Outside Saragarhi, the sound of thousands of marching feet and blaring war trumpets grows louder. Tribal flags whip in the wind as the massive force forms ranks just beyond rifle range. Inside the outpost, the 21 Sikhs tighten their grips on their rifles, watching the enemy assemble for the assault. A sudden roar erupts from the mountainside, and then a wave of warriors charges straight at the ramparts. Rifles thunder as the Sikhs unleash volley after volley into the massive crowd hurtling toward them. The attackers fire back, while others sprint for the walls, trying to climb up and overwhelm the defenders. The first assault collapses under the Sikhs' disciplined gunfire. But like crashing waves, the tribesmen pull back, regroup, and surge forward again, this time with even greater ferocity. 20 rifles against 10,000 enemies. The second wave slams into the outpost. Dozens of tribesmen fall, piling up in front of the walls. But then tragedy strikes. A bullet finds Sepoy Bhagwan Singh, dropping him where he stands. He becomes the first casualty of the surrounded defenders. Despite being gravely wounded, Naik Lal Singh drags Bhagwan Singh's body back to the inner defenses with the help of a comrade. Lal Singh tries to return to the wall, but collapses from his injuries and can no longer fight. Every loss is devastating, not just militarily, but personally. These men are brothers in faith and duty. The second assault continues. Some attackers make it to the base of the walls, scrambling upward, only to be driven back by Sikh rifles and bayonets. But then, a small group discovers a blind spot along the outer corner and manages to force their way inside. The Sikhs, having beaten back the main attack, rush to meet the breach. What follows is brutal close-quarters combat, knives flashing, swords clashing, bayonets stabbing, rifle butts smashing. The outnumbered Sikhs fight with unmatched ferocity, cutting down every intruder who breaks into the post. For a brief moment, the outpost is secure again. Outside, the massive tribal army regroups for the next assault, while inside, the exhausted Sikh soldiers catch their breath after the vicious melee. The Sikhs tend to their wounded, pausing only long enough to mourn the brothers they've already lost. But the silence doesn't last. Outside the walls, voices begin shouting. Tribal leaders are calling out to the defenders, promising safety, wealth, prestige, anything if they will simply lay down their arms and abandon the post. Not a single Sikh even hesitates. They know why they're here. They choose to stand and fight, no matter the cost. As the afternoon sun scorches the dry earth, a new danger appears. Smoke. Thick, rolling smoke. The tribesmen have set fire to the brush around the outpost, turning the entire landscape into a choking haze. The defenders squint through the swirling gray, trying to spot movement, when the signalman suddenly shouts a warning. A message flashes from Fort Lockhart. A massive force of tribesmen is moving through the smoke, advancing along a blind spot on the flank of the signaling station. Moments later, the outer wall is breached. Havildar Ishar Singh instantly orders several men to plug the gap. The enemy crashes into the gate next, splintering it apart, and another savage melee erupts. The Sikhs fight like men possessed, every swing, every thrust, every shot claiming another attacker. The tribesmen lose dozens for every defender who falls. Yet the flood continues. But numbers don't lie. Even bravery has limits. Ishar Singh, desperate to prolong the defense and buy the forts more time, orders his remaining men to retreat to the inner wall. He stays behind. Despite already bleeding heavily, the Havildar lets out a thunderous battle cry and charges straight into the attackers with pistol and sword. For a few blazing seconds, he cuts down warrior after warrior, but the crowd swallows him whole, and he finally falls, staining the rocks beneath him. His sacrifice isn't in vain. Thanks to Ishar's last stand, fewer than a dozen Sikh soldiers manage to form a second defensive line. From the inner rampart, they fire relentlessly. The enemy is so tightly packed that every bullet finds its mark. Still, the attackers slam into the gate over and over until it finally gives way with a deafening crack. The Sikhs know this is the end. They rush forward one last time to meet the charging enemy. A final desperate clash erupts steel against steel, bodies colliding, dust and blood mixing on the ground. The Sikhs fight with everything they have left, refusing to retreat even a single step. One by one, they fall, each taking more enemies with them, until the very last defender is gone. Only one Sikh defender remains, Sepoy Gurmukh Singh, still stationed in his signaling tower. Throughout the entire battle, he has refused to abandon his post flashing updates to Fort Lockhart, even as the outpost fell apart around him. Now, with the last defenses gone, he sends one final message. Request permission to pick up my rifle. The reply comes back. Permission granted. Gurmukh carefully packs away his helograph gear, sets it aside with quiet dignity, and lifts his weapon just as the tribesmen begin smashing through the tower door. Across the valley, Lieutenant Colonel Houghton watches through his telescope. The door bursts open and chaos erupts. For a moment, the fort erupts in cheers. Gurmukh drops one attacker, then another, then another. By the time the smoke begins to thicken, he has fought off 20 enemies alone. The tribesmen retreat from the room in fear of a single man. But the brief silence turns ominous. Houghton's view suddenly fills with smoke. The tribesmen have set the tower ablaze, deciding to burn the last defender rather than face him in close combat again. Knowing the end has come, Gurmukh sits calmly in the center of the room. He begins shouting the Sikh battle cry. Bol so nihal, Sat Sri Akal. He repeats it over and over, his voice carrying across the battlefield until the flames take him. The last stand of Saragarhi is over. For 6 long hours, 21 Sikh soldiers held back thousands. buying enough time for both forts to call reinforcements and bolster their defenses. The next day, British and Indian forces counterattacked, driving the tribesmen out of Saragarhi and the surrounding hills. When the relief troops finally reached the post, they found the bodies of all 21 Sikhs surrounded, according to several reports, by the bodies of over 600 fallen attackers. In recognition of their heroism, every single Sikh defender was posthumously awarded the Indian Order of Merit, the highest military honor available to soldiers of the British Indian Army at the time. It was the first time in history that an entire unit received gallantry awards for a single battle. Queen Victoria herself said, "It is no exaggeration to state that the armies which possess the valiant Sikhs cannot face defeat in war." Today, the 21 brave warriors of Saragarhi stand among history's greatest last stands. Their sacrifice is honored every year by the Indian Army's 4th Battalion of the Sikh Regiment on Saragarhi Day, September 12th.